multi-cooling system in this car, which is gonna get checked out after I run errands. But I gotta go run errands, so I've put myself behind the wheel for it, and you know, I got roadside assistance. I got a little bit of money, so I'll be all right. Plus, I can just pull over, let the engine cool down, and that'll be all that I need. But it's you can't spend your entire driving time watching your fucking temperature needle like a hawk, and so it can be very frustrating when a few days goes by, you think you fixed it and it's not fixed. Right in the chain of events. I think a lot of people get they get all scammy about fucking mechanics, and it's like the only person you're scamming is your fucking self, right? It's like, I own a Civic, but I'm not interested in being a Civic expert, which would give me an edge in my judgment calls on mechanics. Right? That's the idea there. But I've got other priorities before prioritizing master knowledge of my fucking means of conveyance. Which is absurd considering how much I love to have a good performing means of conveyance. But I do find things odd and interesting. We're now officially counting 3 assassination attempts of note for the ex-president, right? And why am I bothering to mention this as one who talks about how things don't matter in certain ways? Well, what I do know that does matter is themes. Themes do matter, right? The details of the themes are theater and distraction. But the themes themselves are telling you a thing or two about the energy field, states of mind, the mythos running through the system in real time. All of these aspects. So I wonder, to myself, they've worked very hard to make the point that this is not normal fucking things going on, and they're doing this. It's a ploy to get you deeper wrapped up out of a necessity from the change. Things have changed exponentially in human consciousness in such a way that to keep the baseline of the useful among the profane, right? Those that are going to be part of the donor class, who manage things or whatever, the functionality of the minds towards the top of things, right? A kind of a consensus amongst the jarls of the world, right? Like if you're gonna think in class systems, I suggest you think in terms of primordially the 3 kinds of social statuses that there are, right? Like this is a Norse understanding of it. You're gonna find this parallel across the board, right? Jarls, Carls, and Thralls, right? What is the technique by which The world and the mind of the Jarl is forged, the Carl and the Thrall. How much of those are good or bad, and how much of those good and bad things are intentionally good or bad? Mostly we're questioning if they're intentionally bad, because we're looking at everything and it's just like, what makes it good? It works, right? And that's your only standard that something's good, is that it, quote, works. There's some result. The way the result happens doesn't matter, but the result serves a certain need regardless of how it serves it. And you as an individual can sometimes not appreciate what's lost in the nuance and the details, and it becomes a great, striking oddity to you. It becomes a great, striking oddity. And we live in an odd world of all sorts of filters, and like there's different techniques, you know, because there's still plenty of free will and non-psychopaths among the profane. Just because you're among the profane doesn't mean that you don't have certain things, that you do have other things, right? And then the last question is, are you any kind of a beyonder? I think there's good beyonders and bad beyonders. I think that is hard to see. But like, I'll put it to you this way. The invisible chains of slavery that have been, that all of us have known, especially any of us at least the age of a millennium, have known for most of our natural lives, had gone through an interesting destruction, right? And each generation had vastly different feelings about the destruction of the age we were in, right? Many millennials, especially younger ones, with way, way, way less experience, saw the events of 2016 through 2020 from a different lens than the older millennials and young Gen Z. And the younger millennials and young Gen, or the older, I'm sorry, yes, the younger millennials and young Gen Z all kind of fucking egged each other on at the behest of the ignorance of the Xers and the boomers behind them. And so that's an interesting correlation to what's going on, right? And so there's a manner of which there's generational transference of these castes that is done by our own making, whether it be the big us or just the proverbial personal us, if you will. I think you understand what I'm trying to say, right? Because as a conspiracy, like, it's hard to be a conspiracy theorist and a personal accountability person. But it can be done. You know, I'd say that one of the distinctions between me and my colleague and friend James True is the merit that I still have many things that I think that he probably thinks is more of perhaps that kind of a quote hallucination, in which James has also said many times, it's, you know, You know, it's probably good that you've got this hallucination, etc., right? You know, which is why, you know, based on that foundational principle, you know, is why I thought that Jason Shears had a complete irrational and overreaction to the stretching claim. You know, as just like, all right, like you're rejecting the path of modus operandi, and you don't want to address that you don't like his modus operandi, so you must make it about him. Oh, wow, he pops out of the woodwork finally. I got a friend that I want to text back very, very, very quickly because I haven't seen him since he left my last job, and I've been trying to get a hold of him since he left it. But I got another minute. I can't be fucking on hand and foot for my fair weather friends. So, you know, like I woke up, you know, like, so I'm thinking about these assassinations. Like, I didn't even hear about it. Like, all I know is that somebody tried again and failed, and this time they caught the guy. That's all I fucking know. And I'm just like, this is such interesting scripting. It's like, it's on a loop, but it's a little bit different on the loop, right? Like that's definitely a new kind of detail. The question is, does it stay personally isolated, right? The public consumption is gonna stick with the facts that directly surround the suspect, and probably not going to censor speculation within its own circles, but probably will outside of all of that, right? And so then that becomes food for the base. As that goes off on its own tangent, it'll have its Q correlations. And there's a lot of sophisticated people who are not thralls in society that believe these things, right? But they're still not thralls. They just happen to have a couple of hallucinations, because the thing is that, like, these invisible yokes, it's not like you're invisibly yoked to the Jarl or the executive type person, right? But all these Carls, all these, like, you know, these independent businessmen and things like that, you know. But actually, that's not even right. It's just like there are different kinds of Jarls in reality, right? It's just like the president of the country is a Jarl. The president of your local pizza parlor, the CEO of your pizza parlor, is a Jarl, right? You're somebody in a position in your world that you don't have people over you, right? The only thing that is over you is the system you are holding for your benefit itself, in which other people benefit being a part of that system. Clients come in, those are your Carls. The people working for you, those are your thralls. And perhaps that is not anything more than a shift sentence. Perhaps I am a thrall when I decide I want to walk into the boss's office. Perhaps I am a Carl right the fuck now. And perhaps I am a Jarl if I've earned people's trust to be in charge of something. Or I make something myself to charge of, which isn't going to succeed without other people's trust. Unless the only thing it's about is myself, which is then outside of that hierarchy system, because now it's just personal and internal. So, this is why I've been meditating on this a lot, to make deeper distinction between those who would be called slaves, who are definitely thralls, right? And even those who would be called slaves that are like the ignorant jarl because they're in charge of something, right? But they're still like blindly and in allegiance with the state or whatever the fuck it is that we wish we could fucking outright go and rock to fucking death, right? And I hold that those principles do need to change and that it is that important. But I think about the time that it takes, right? In my heart, I see an immediate moment of destroy it now, tear it down, right? There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth over losses that don't actually exist in anyone's head, except in anyone's head, right? And, this whole thing, it's just like when you're looking at your kid playing with a really bad toy and you have to break it in front of him, right? And you have to be the bad guy, right? Like, I get it. I'm not saying that like you've done fucked up if you had to be the bad guy for those who didn't know better and shatter their illusion right there on the spot. But how is it getting reconstructed? Because if you're the one to break it, you shouldn't be the one to make it, right? Don't break somebody down without handing it off to a build-up. Otherwise, the build-up, because if an external force has to tear it down to begin with, then an external force has to build it up. And that's fine. If the on the inside is seeking that, and there's this understood, deeply nuanced agreement between two parties that creates that permission. Just like the understood, nuanced agreements that idiots that fucking summon angels and demons to fucking run their goddamn errands fucking incur, and then just wonder why their life is difficult for 20 fucking minutes, and then they realize, like, oh fuck, I have to correct this thing I did with the ritual because the demon gets to fuck with me now because I wasn't fucking on my P's and Q's. Like, people are driving themselves mad. Driving themselves mad with this shit. Wasting so much time keeping that in control through it's almost like all the symbolism is just a nerditry for you, and you got to do it to be for reals. Because at the end of the day, you never got past the phase of calling upon a higher power. You just rejected the characterization of the power you're calling on, but you're still calling upon a power outside of yourself that you have put yourself below because you blessed yourself. You put it below you. You put yourself below you. And handed yourself over to a dark and monstrous thing that seemed like it was going to be perfectly fine, except you didn't cross your T's, dot your I's, or stab the pigeon in just the right spot. It's making it a sacrifice in vain. It's just like, it's like, this is the kind of thing that happens, and people are like foolishly acting like there couldn't possibly be any fucking unnecessary, unhelpful backs to that, what we call curses, right? It's just like that's just like saying like I can't go through a positive affirmation unless I make life impossible for myself first. So therefore, I'm going to get morbidly obese, so that way I can have that as a mental problem. So then I will struggle to lose that weight and earn it through the struggle to lose the weight, and that'll be my great accomplishment. So your great accomplishment is going from being sick to healed, and then that's it. And because you've blessed yourself, you're looking around you and you're saying, I'm not better than anyone else, and therefore I'm not going to be healthier than anyone else around me. I only made myself horribly sick so I could be only as sick as my peers, and therefore never transcend and become isolated and a threat for seeking more personal excellence, right? This is a very spiritual concept I'm explaining that is very similar to the struggle that, like, the Ayn Randian goes through. Ayn Rand writes his novels about people that their intelligence and their drive for excellence creates social isolation by going against zeitgeist in very particular kinds of ways. And great, this truck is using this place to turn around, and he's stopping to deliver. There better be room when you fucking pull over, you kumquat. Look at this shit. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Where does he expect traffic to go? Why are you here in your fucking, like, what is that, a six-wheeler? And my fucking car's now choosing heat up, which is fucking perfect. So now I have to pull over and let my car cool down. Alright, well. Alright guys, so I'm gonna let my car cool down, and one last thing I wanted to mention was another oddity is a timeline kind of thing for me, where, like, I've discovered there's a film that came out in 2004 called The Immortals, right? My filter missed this film. It was a cyberpunk dystopia, which is exactly what's up, but it's also Egyptian mythology. Why are you, this is not a place, this is not a fucking truck stop, man. Why are you in the middle of the goddamn road blocking everything? Anyway, but yeah, and the main character is Horus, and there's some decent looking for 2004 CGI. This is like it's like an English film with it's an English language film or whatever, but I guess it was made in Europe, but also was released in America. Just at any rate, yeah. So, like, this movie called Immortal about Horus coming to Earth during a cyberpunk modern time kind of thing. Seems pretty cool and interesting. Maybe it's coming from a Thoth the Atlantean point of view. I don't know. I'll have to check it out and see what's up. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later.